Christmas is no doubt a time of nostalgia, a time of general returns for a lot of people. The question is, a return to what? What are the moments or events, celebrations, and structures that draw people back to Enugu or elsewhere? The dry, dusty, and sometimes cold wind is in the air once again. But what kind of Christmas will it be in the cold city, and matter of fact, in the whole of eastern Nigeria this year? This is the Eastern Eye. I am Alex Obodo. Welcome to the Eastern Eye here on Aviation TV. It's a program that X-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. Joining me tonight is James Eze. He's a poet, musician, and critic. He is the CEO of Odala Tree Concept. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, James Eze.
Thank you, Alex. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You gave it a touch of red, and that means that you are in the spirit of Christmas already.
The spirit has taken over me already, I confess.
All right. We'll just take a quick break. When we return from that break, we will continue with the discussion.
Okay. Can't hear you.
This is the Eastern Eye, and you're watching Afia TV. My name is Alex Obodo. So, James Eze is here. Christmas is in the air. We're just in the last few days of November. So that tells you that the moment is the 1st of December. The bells will start ringing. We'll start decking the halls. But in this part of the world, it's not really about the jingle bells. There are many other things that matter, the things that really stir up memories for us. For you, what are those earliest memories you have of Christmas? Growing up as definitely someone that comes from this extraction.
Absolutely. Alex, my childhood, the keenest memories I have of my childhood are memories of Christmas, and they remain distinct up to this very day, because I remember that as a kid, growing up in the town of Alago in Ibueze South, local government area of Enugu State, Christmas was something we looked forward to. It was that time of the year when everything seemed to align to our happiness, happiness of everybody. Suddenly life acquired a new sheen, a new complexion, a new color, and maybe sometimes a new meaning for people who probably have lived in lack all year long, and people who have suffered all kinds of privations year long, and people who have not had enough spectacle to experience in their lives all year long too. And so for me, Christmas begins with the silent whisper of the harmattan wind in the window for me, and early morning chill that made life such a delirium to experience. If you have ever had malaria, malaria dream, leaves you a little delirious, a situation where you are drifting between consciousness and sleep. So Christmas comes with that thick pall of excitement. The Hamatan haze, I guess, probably has something to do with, the nuance of Christmas, the deeper meanings of life. It makes you understand that nothing is ever cast in stone, and that life moves on as the seasons change, moving from the rainy season to the dry season and to Hamatan and everything, and the whirlwind that accompanies the Hamatan period. Life is a constant motion. It's like the Ijele Masquerade. It keeps moving in circles, and for you to get a fulsome view of it, you have to be constantly on the move. So Christmas is that season that evokes innocence for me. It takes me back to when I knew nothing about the troubles of the world, the anxieties of adulthood, the concerns of whether I am successful or not. Because at Christmas, it doesn't really matter what each family has. Love is in abundance because your neighbors are more expansive and more willing to share, even from their lack. So Christmas is a whole lot to people like me.
Absolutely. I mean, I felt nostalgic listening to that. The when you listen to the crackling sound of the bushfires.
Absolutely.
In December and January.
Yes, and the elders gather by the morning fire.
Ananyoko.
Ananyoko.
Yeah, so it's something about Enugu and Christmas, and if one says, all right, okay, when would you likely come home for Christmas? In the whole calendar, maybe we'll leave the thing open from the 15th to maybe the 31st. When would be the likeliest time you will start seeing people trooping back? Or do you think that they troop back for different reasons?
Yes, absolutely. Christmas starts much earlier now. The society has changed a whole lot. Christmas actually begins. You begin to feel Christmassy from November. Because the social circuit suddenly blinks awake. There are a lot of activities going on, marriage ceremonies, house opening and, warming. And then you also have, in the cities, you have shows and concerts coming up more frequently. You have comedy shows. I remember I was out on Sunday. Last Sunday, I wanted to access Eban or Tunnel, and the entire place was shut now. I think there was a comedy show at the Aviation Center or something. I don't know whatever it was, but it had the entire city out. Now there are religious gatherings, crusades, and what do you call it? Conferences.
End of year revival.
End of the year revival and all kinds of things. All these things heighten our expectations and sense of Christmas. Once you begin to see all these, like this year, the rainy season in this part of Enugu came to a sudden stop, no one anticipated because it had rained for too long, and suddenly the rains dried up, and immediately intense sunshine came out, and it had so far looked as if we're all being baked by the sun, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Being purified, being drained of whatever moisture we had accumulated during the rainy season, in readiness for the season of love, for the season of happiness and contentment. So Christmas starts in November and goes then from early December, when the Christmas carols kick in, then we all begin to really feel drunk with, not the plenitude of our grace and blessings, but with the sense of being alive to witness another season like Christmas. We must admit, we must be grateful to God that there were many people who began the year with us. We are not here to hear the Christmas the jingling of the Christmas bells anymore. So there are so many things that, come into our sense of Christmas, the Christmas season and these festivities. So from early first week of December to the 24th of December, my sense of Enugu is that the roads are fully packed. People are moving up and down, either going, looking for, activities to engage in, some shopping to do, last minute, connections, and shopping for things to take to their respective villages, for their enjoyment. There are also arrangements, youngsters like my little friend that I met here in the studio, who was telling me his biggest dream was to get to see his prospective in-laws. So there are so many people who have that ambition within this season, who make the preliminary contacts within this period. Some also go out to carry out what we call in Igbo as Ijuese. This is the season when all those things happen, when people send their miseries to their prospective in-laws and to the villages and to do due diligence on the prospective spouses they want to take. It goes back both ways. Men do it, women also do it. You check out the background of someone that you've dated and that you have now found the confidence to, propose to. So it's a period that is like none other. But we must also remember, and this is very important for anyone who's paying attention, this is also the season when crime is at its peak. So you have to be very careful, have to be very watchful. A lot of people who had set out to achieve the impossible all year long are pressured by time now, and they are ready to take what doesn't belong to them. So you have to be very careful. The neighborhood watch, and everybody, private citizens, as you move around, be vigilant, be careful, because the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy, says the Holy Scripture.
All right. Thank you for taking it all through there.
Yeah.
And another thing will be Christmas. That's that question, whether you will travel for Christmas. One thing is for it to be time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Another thing is whether you simply want to adopt the slogan that Alawood. All right, so they say you are the Alawotu Association. So you stay and look after the neighborhood for other people who travel for Christmas. How does it feel really to have that banter, whether you go or not? And people who say, oh, well, I'm not traveling.
Yeah.
But then suddenly, on the morning of 24th, you see that the persons they agreed to stay back in Enugu with have just decided to travel.
Yes.
So do you get the sense that peer pressure also affects people's decisions this season?
Yes, it does a whole lot, Alex, because sometimes, the entire neighborhood's empty, especially on the either 24th, 25th, but what fascinates me more intensely is the coming and going between the city and the rural areas where we all come from. There's an endless movement. Sometimes you find people leaving their communities in the morning to get to Enugu in the evening, and then only to leave the next day. And I think that's what makes Christmas exciting. And Alex, I'm even more fascinated by, the plans of the Enugu state government to make this Christmas a bit more remarkable, in the sense that Enugu, I understand from one of my friends who I think he works in the ministry in the culture and tourism ministry. He said Enugu will be celebrating 115 years of existence, and they are starting it. They are marking it on the 20th of December with a celebration of a memorial of the Iva Valley massacre. There will be a stage play, and there will also be a symposium on, and I think that sort of elevates this Christmas for us in Enugu a little bit. I would like to be there in the audience and listen to maybe a fully developed paper on the Iva Valley massacre, which I have read a bit about, and which I learned was also a trigger to the nationalist movements that led to the attainment of independence by Nigeria. So that gives a little more nuance to Christmas in Enugu this year. And there are also a few other activities, like I'm sure the roadblock will be taking place this year again, and some other activities that I've seen advertisements about what some groups will be doing at the Naira Triangle, hoverboard, some kind of create some place for kids. So for families to take their kids and have a bit of fun. And I tell you what, Alex, I think we need a lot of that this year, because we have all been pressured and squeezed to the wall this year.
It's been a tough year, isn't it?
It's been an incredibly tough year. And we must not allow the hardship that has been very prevalent this year to strip us of the joys of Christmas. Because that's absolutely there's nothing else left for us. If you find someone who's struggled from almost January to December, and there is no moment for a hearty laughter for him. But this season, we all need to loosen up. And I'm happy that Enugu is changing drastically. I was driving around Enugu today, and I saw some vehicles, security squad vehicles, written with a DRS, this Distress Response Squad, on them, placed in strategic locations. And I thought that also speaks about the readiness of the government to make this Christmas a festival that we will all cherish. So I think that's amazing. Plus the security cameras are they working now though, Alex?
If you ask me, how would I know? It's a security discussion.
Yeah,
how would I know whether they're working? But of course,
I believe they should.
But then you never know.
Yeah.
Just know that the big brother is watching.
He's watching.
Okay. So I mean, it feels good, really.
Yeah.
Bringing back memories of what could happen, what is possible. That reimagination is always good.
Yeah.
And that you always hear people talk about the good old days.
Yes.
But then let me ask you this question: were the old days good?
Yeah.
Were the old days good? Seeing the things that innovation and civilization has thrown to us, do you still consider the old days as good?
The old days,
or were the old days convenient?
No, the old days were magnificent. Let's not even argue about that, because we had more human contact, greater interaction. I hope that nowadays some worthy people do not come home to lock themselves up in the villages and turn on the television and DSTV for their children to watch, and forget that the essence of Christmas in Igbo villages is for the children to come home and integrate with the people there, and there should be a lot more traffic between the returnees and the various places, the relatives going out to, make new friends. Let the children understand where they are from and listen to their grandparents. Some of us grew up listening to our parents and grandparents telling us stories, Tales by the Moonlight kind of stories. Those are amazing experiences. But nothing compares to them. I remember when I was working in Lagos and we're organizing a creative writing workshop, which I was curating with Chimamanda Adichie facilitating. We had this big-time novelist, Dave Eggers, who came all the way from California. So when I went to the airport to pick him up, and we stepped out, as we drove out of the airport, we came across a big billboard that Fidelity had at the airport then, with Chimamanda Adichie's image on it, because she was our brand ambassador. And Dave Eggers was a little bit surprised and said, Chimamanda is almost a pop star in Nigeria. I said, yes. And then a conversation ensued from there, and we were swapping stories about our childhood. And I was telling him how my parents' folk tales that I soaked up in the village had influenced my understanding of storytelling, and how it had become a part of my experience that I was nostalgic about. And he said, well, for him, he was a child of the television. That whatever he needed to know when he was a kid, he learned from watching cartoons on TV and stuff. Now you can see the two of us, we came from two different universes. You understand? We were so different, you know, but were we to write stories, it will be so clear from the way we would approach storytelling.
That's right.
I'll be coming from orature, from my understanding of the, you know, of folklore and how they shape worldviews. He'll be looking at, he'll probably be you know, approaching it from the sci-fi, you know, genre of fiction, you know, the imaginative science fiction kind of, you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So these things are very important because where we come from actually defines us to a very large extent. And it's very important that you take a part of who you are as you negotiate your way through a very convoluted and dense universe. So you will not be lost completely. There should be something that stands you out. And we must not deny our children that experience. And sometimes for people who have lived in the city for years, touching base within this period, it's the only time your children might have to really strike their feet in unaccustomed earth, as the novelist John Palahiri would put it. But the point I'm trying to make is that it might seem so simple, it might seem so innocent, it might seem so uneventful, but you won't understand the benefit of this acculturation, these little gestures to a young mind until they are fully formed. So please, let's not lose sight of some of these important details.
Well said. So when you look around the city, are there bits and pieces of changes and innovative things you are seeing that suggest that maybe this Christmas might be different?
Yes. The difference that we will experience this Christmas, Alex, you know, at the risk of sounding as if almost like a government spokesman, so to speak, but you asked if I had seen anything of note, and I would like to point out that if the International Conference Center is eventually put to use this Christmas, that will be a new dimension to our experience of Christmas. You know, I have been to the place about, I think the last time I visited, I went there last month, and what I saw was quite impressive. I can't wait to take my children to, you know, those open spaces. You know, children love open spaces. Take them there and then allow them roam freely. You understand? Now, already with, you know, the Unity Park on the other side, and with what we have seen, I think this week we saw a helicopter, you know, being installed at Unity Park. And so, and Ekweme Square in the middle, so it's like, it will make an amazing Christmas village. I mean, Okpara Square, I'm sorry.
You stayed a lot, you know, I can understand.
Okpara Square.
Okpara Square.
You know, I navigate both words.
Okay,
yes. So with Okpara Square in the middle, you can see the movements, and it becomes an amazing complex. I think that's part of what stands Enugu out, because you have Okpara Square there, you have Spa there, you have you know, the International Conference Center, and I understand the Presidential Hotel, you know, work is progressing on it too, so very soon that will be completed. And I I think it makes a lot of sense. Enugu should be the hub for, relaxation and enjoyment for people. I've always looked at Enugu as the theme capital of Igbo land, because I don't say this because I am from Enugu. I say this because I'm aware of the natural endowments that Enugu has. The pine forests in Enugu with that Milking Hill is a spectacle. Alex, a couple of weeks ago, I made an attempt to assess the Nsude Pyramid, and I was told that the government had put a ban on visitors. But can we imagine that Enugu State has a site full of pyramids not far away from the city of Enugu itself? Have you seen the Nsude Pyramid?
I haven't been there.
But doesn't it prick your curiosity?
It does.
Come on.
Now that you mentioned it again.
Yes.
I'm beginning to feel like I'm holding a drone.
They won't let you access it, because I tried to go there myself to see things. I felt like, James, what kind of character are you? You live in Enugu, and there are pyramids within about how many kilometers from where you live, and you haven't seen it, and you put yourself up as a culture.
We are moving too fast in this program.
Oh.
That is beginning to sound like we are dancing to Burna Boy's song. Kilometer. We'll take a break here on the Eastern Eye. When we return, we will talk about masquerades. We'll find out whether James Eze has memories of masquerades at Christmas. Stay with us. You're welcome back. This is the Eastern Eye on Afia TV. We're reaching you from the hilly, cold city of Enugu. My name is Alex Obodo. My guest today is James Eze. He's a critic, a poet, musician, and the CEO of Udala Tree Concept. Now imagine the name he gave his company, Udala Tree.
Yes.
Is it one? I hope it's one. the sweetest.
The
of
sweetest
them all.
of Udala.
Yes.
Alex, Udala and this symbolism,
Yeah.
it's what it stands for kids, and innocence, and,
Absolutely.
the kind of play we engaged when we were kids in the village, waiting under Udala tree for the ripest fruit to fall, and we would race to pick it.
Yeah.
And you never eat Udala alone.
But Udalas are also revered. People who come from my village,
Yeah.
they know themselves. There's a place called Ukudara. You don't pass there alone.
Really?
It's always chilly and lonely.
Spirits.
You always assume that something will come for you. But then, nothing took anyone, actually.
I know, nothing. Those were myths.
But unfortunately, that Udala tree is no longer there.
Oh,
There had to be a road constructed.
Oh,
But,
God.
as children, you always had that. If you are moving and suddenly the eldest takes off, he takes off and leaves all the younglings behind, and you run for your life. You don't want to be left behind right at the middle of the Udala tree, because you see the forest cover there is thickest.
Yes.
But then all that now belongs to the ages.
Oh my goodness.
So, masquerades. Imagine from Udala tree to the masquerades. For people who grew up in this town, and even in this state, masquerades are a big part of celebrations here, especially at Christmas. Do you have memories of that?
Yes. I have memories. As a kid, I actually had my own masquerade. The amazing thing is with my playmates, and I remember as a kid we had a carver, is that the name they are called? The people who carved masks.
Yeah.
There was one that lived in the neighboring village. My hometown is very close to Enugu Ezike, and there was this gifted carver. He carved different kinds of masks. Now he carved the elegant, delicately beautiful mask. For me and my friend Sebastian. Sebastian, I don't know if he will ever watch this program, but my childhood friend Sebastian Ugwai, we had a very amazing Christmas experience. We spent weeks before Christmas going to discover. You know, we would deposit some money and we commissioned him to carve a particular mask for us. And then we would go buy all the things, all the shingles, all the, you know, all those things and bells, tiny bells that we wore. And it took a lot of ardor and determination to gather all those things that our masquerade needed to perform at Christmas. One, it was also our own sort of enterprise, because if you brought out your masquerade, you went round the community looking for little pennies. And oftentimes I would go to my rich uncles, my relatives, we would go to Sebastian's own relatives, then we'll go to the town center to perform, to dance around, you know, and all those memories enriched our lives as youngsters. Those are things that when we look back, sometimes we will laugh at some of the things that we did, but they stand out as some of the forces that shaped us, that intensified our sensibilities as we grew older, and we felt we had outgrown some of those things. But they never really leave you, because these are your first encounters with the real meaning of aesthetics. Imagine telling the carver at that tender age, no, I don't want a horrifying mask.
Yeah.
I want the face of a maiden, you know.
Something beautiful.
Something beautiful, something very pleasant that would make people give you dash, you know, what we call it, you know, tips, dash, you know, Balloon Christmas. You would dance around the elders, and then they would drop a coin or two. And they say, Kodonye, when you know,
there has to be someone.
There has to be someone. So it's such an amazing beginning for us. Then at the communal level, you know, it's at Christmas that people gather at the village squares to watch all kinds of masquerades. There were masquerades like Mbedike and all kinds of things. In my hometown, we had Eddie. We had all kinds of, you know, then we even, in my time growing up, used to go to neighboring communities on specific days when the market, the communities market days, like Wachoye or Eke, or, you know, people, an entire community or the neighboring communities could empty into one to witness masquerade displays, you know. And my brother, Enugu Ezike, is so steeped, you know, in culture that at Christmas you will see all kinds of masquerades coming out, some with fire or smoke billowing in their heads. I'm not talking about I'm talking about Christmas masks. And you will see all kinds of, you know, manifestations, you know, and those were very magical. People would gather, and those masquerades were not as dreadful as they seemed, because they were just there to entertain and enrich our days as people who came from a particular part of the country. And I believe it's the same experience across the board. I don't know whether, and it took one more.
You know, I don't know why I laughed that so loud. I mean, you should be asking yourself why the government of Enugu State decided to cite the Ijele masquerade at the Obiago roundabout. Obiago is one of the hearts of Ogwinike.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you have that's it being mounted.
Yeah.
It's just the most elegant of all masquerades you would see.
Yeah.
I don't think anything will best the elegance of the Ijele.
Yes, but Alex, sometimes I've wondered, what were our ancestors thinking when they came up with the Ijele masquerade? Because it carries almost everything. Ijele is life in its entirety.
Our forefathers were very artistic. They had art in their heart and in their heads.
Yeah.
And they pictured that it should be a spectacle. So people should look at that masquerade without looking at anything else. So they have different colors. They have the height is amazing.
Yeah, the height
so
is amazing.
even if you're a child,
yeah,
you can see the Ijele. No one will block your view from seeing the Ijele, as opposed to maybe Yaboku, Ajofia, depending on where you come from. Or, you know, the Izaga, or whether Izaga might be the tallest, but not the most elegant.
Yes,
obviously.
not.
So it's a mix of a lot of things. And which reminds me, growing up in a place called Asata in Enugu, it's just a stone throw to Obiago. And there is a conglomeration area, a point of convergence at just between Obiago and Asata, where all the masquerades will converge. And some of the most revered masquerades don't come out early. They come out when all the other, unquote, the pretenders have come out, and you see some of the masquerades from camp, from other places coming, and then you will see Iyabok. Usually, the Ijele don't come out all the time. You see the Iyabok, and once the Iyabok comes, sometimes there are contests. You know, these are not
for
things,
power.
these are not things we'll explain on national TV. But of course, you watch people. There's a fence where you see hundreds of people seated. Some people standing on the roads. You never forget it. The stories will be told until the next Christmas. So it's unforgettable. So if you happen to find yourself in your village, the experience is different.
Yes.
Because for every village in Igbo land, you have masquerades that are particular to you.
Absolutely.
So you dance or run away from the masquerade, depending on how the masquerades are revered.
Absolutely.
Because they are supposed to be spirits.
They are spirits, of course. But Alex, what I find, what has continued to intrigue me is the sense of aesthetics of our ancestors. Because when we look at the splendor that Ijele represents, how were they able to assemble all the colors? How were they able to blend everything to that level of perfection in terms of the harmony of everything that makes up Ijele? You know, there are representations, there are themes, there are symbolisms, there are all kinds of things that an Ijele masquerade carries with it. Even the Ijele gate, the way it walks, you know, because it also represents royalty. So the Ijele seems to be a thematic representation of the Igbo worldview in a more profound way than I have seen in any other masquerade. You know, and when you understand, like my understanding of art as an attempt by man to have a grasp of his life, of the world around him, you will understand what our ancestors were trying to do by creating something that seems to reflect every experience they have had on this fair so far. The colors, some Ijele masquerades have the fisherman and his boat. So, you know, and that is an entire ecosystem of its own, representing marine life. Some have Dibiana Abuafa, you know, and you just begin to wonder how they were able to say, okay, we can actually assemble all these symbols in one single representation of our sense of aesthetics, and that is the birth of Ijele. And why the mountain of the Ijele status in Onuasata has drawn so much approval and excitement from the entire Igbo world, both in Nigeria and in the diaspora. Because people are seeing, oh, so someone has enough presence of mind to put out something like this. Something that, and to be honest with you, in the world of symbols and themes, what Enugu has done is to blaze a trail, is to show, to continue to demonstrate to the world that this here state
But Enugu always blazes the trail,
yes,
isn't it?
yes.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying this because I'm from Enugu, just to borrow your words. But Enugu always blazes the trail. And
Some people might not agree with you.
Well, show me your workings. The governor announced yesterday during the budget presentation that there will be Enugu Air coming in the next few weeks. So are you not going to be relishing that? Imagine that you probably have the opportunity of flying an Enugu-owned airline.
Alex, that's a big deal to me.
Because if we are talking Christmas, we are talking travel.
Yeah.
We are talking tourism. The International Conference Center, the International Conference Center Hotel.
Yeah.
There are different things happening, and then Enugu Air is coming on board. We have an international airport.
Yes, I think that's a very pragmatic approach. I must commend Governor Pitamba for showing that, remarkable vision in the sense that if you are a regular air traveler, Alex, the experience has been nightmarish in recent times.
Mention it again. Mention it.
That's
book a flight from Enugu to Lagos
and
be in Lagos and book a flight to Abuja. You see the difference.
Yes.
So anyone traveling to or from the east or south,
yes,
they seem to be paying twice.
You pay twice. It's not only that you pay twice. It is the fact that demand exceeds supply on this side. The other day I had my sister, was traveling, and APs had sent too many conflicting notices informing her about when the boarding, the flight arrangements, and she got, by the time she arrived, I think she mixed 2 or 3 of such, messages, and by the time she got there, the flight had gone, and there was no other flight, and she was supposed to leave the country the next day. So we were in a quandary. I went berserk, actually. Would she have to travel in the night, to Lagos in a night bus? Would she have to, did we have to charter a car to take her to Lagos? It was, because it happened that way because our options here are few and far between. So for someone now to have thought about...
You have about 2 airlines reliably operating from here.
And,
2.
so...
the third one...
Yeah, and also, I can also imagine sometimes for people in government, because I have been in one myself, there have been moments when you've had to travel without the advantage of long period of planning.
Sure.
So if you have to travel to Abuja all of a sudden, like if a decision was taken today for you to travel to Abuja tomorrow, you can't achieve that. You can't.
In fact, I don't think there's a flight going from Enugu to Abuja this period.
No way.
If you hadn't booked maybe a month or
if you haven't, so that some of these things, some people might look at it as elitist, but there are some economic benefits too, in the sense that you can't be opening up the space for investors, and when I use the term investors, I do not only mean foreign investors. When I worked in Anambra, the bulk of the people who came to invest in Anambra were people from Anambra State. They are billionaires because the environment had been made very conducive and people started coming in. So if you want to come to Enugu to prospect for land, to site an industry, for instance, and you have difficulties even getting a flight to Enugu, you struggle once, you struggle twice, won't you?
You give up.
You give up. So some of these things, we need to also look at the big picture. And I think that's what I believe the government has done by taking this decision. Now, that is open to criticism. I know so many people might not agree with that, but he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches. Yeah.
That's if the person is wearing a shoe and not a sandal. Well, but I have to thank you so much.
Wow.
James Eze.
Thank you.
I mean, you just turned on the Christmas carols in my head. I forgot to ask you, what's your favorite Christmas carol?
Oh, well, do I even have any favorites? I don't sincerely. Every Christmas carol strikes a chord.
There must be one.
Because because these are seasonal songs.
What?
Isn't it interesting that nobody plays Christmas carols until the year after?
All right. I mean, I'll leave this conversation. Maybe we'll have the conversation over a bottle of something chill.
Yeah, maybe at Christmas.
At Christmas. That's the Eastern Eye for tonight. Very much thank you, James, as a poet, musician, critic, and CEO of Udala Tree Concept. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you on this seat.
Same here, Alex. Thank you.
And of course, thank you for watching. My name is Alex Obodo.